because it turns on certain genes. That's why we have anti-age masks. We have Nutridyne. We have other things to stop aging, but Nutridyne is right up there. If you want to build new mitochondria, if you want to reverse aging, you've got to support mitochondrial function. That's why we have Nutrala, Cell Detox, Glutathione, Regenerex. That's why our protocol for, we call our radiation protocol, is 2 NIOSH N95 masks, 2 Nutridyne, 1 Nutrala, and 1 NutriDefense. That's our core protocol. So it's very amazing to me that we have people that literally, if the workers in TEPCO were taking their full line, not just the core, of nutraceuticals for radiation, they would knock out 99% of the effective radiation, both alpha, beta, and gamma. But the most important of all of them is Nutridyne, because even the other radioisotopes, you've got to support mitochondrial function, because that's the ultimate damage that causes a cell to go haywire. Because when your cells are like the engine, start to generate free radicals because they've been damaged, all the other cellular processes to generate what we call autophagy, where the cells replace damaged organelles or pieces inside the cell, stops cold. And if the cell doesn't repair itself, it goes into senescence, metabolic processes don't happen, infection happens, toxins build up, genetic damage happens, and of course if the cell loses enough mitochondria to survive, it actually turns on genes to turn into cancer. Cancer is just simply a response of the cell trying to survive without mitochondria. And when you get dementia, for example, most people don't realize it's a mitochondriopathy. You can't metabolize sugars properly, so you start metabolizing ketone bodies, which is why some of the new formulas now for dementia are generating ketone bodies. And we are actually working on a special food formula for cancer, autoimmune disease, dementia, etc., autism, that is a ketogenic formula that will contain some very special combinations of nutrients. But right away, just with Nutridyne, we have people who have autism, kids with mental retardation, people who've had stroke, people with heart failure, people with chronic fatigue syndromes. They respond literally within days. They're saying, okay, what did you do? I can't believe it. It's like a light switch went on. I just started taking Nutridyne, and it's like all of a sudden I have energy. My brain woke up. I'm not tired anymore. What did you do? Well, you killed off the pathogens. You started activating ATP and NADH, that's the high energy molecules, and they start making new mitochondria. Period.
It really is. It works so well. Then a lot of people even report this brain fog goes within days.
Plus, also what happens is Nutridyne actually helps your thyroid start to regenerate thyroid tissue and help peripheral conversion of T4 to T3. So it does both. So if you give somebody Nutridyne, we have people that have Hashimoto's thyroiditis after 6 months to 2 years. They actually are noticing their glands are regenerating, so their doctors are saying, oh my gosh, your T3 and T4 levels, free T3, free T3, look pretty normal. We're going to up your dosage of hormone. And they drop it a little bit and say, oh, man, it's still normal 6 months later. What's going on is their gland is regenerating. So as you regenerate the gland, as you generate it, also it helps the body with doing what's called peripheral conversion, which is helping the body release TRH from the small bowel and the pancreas and other tissues. It's helping peripheral conversion of T4 to T3, which is the actual hormone that locks onto the crystal galli of the mitochondria. Now, T3 is a lock and key for every cell of your body. Without the dance between mitochondria and your cell, there's no life. 95% of your energy comes from mitochondria, which is why the biggest public health risk is whether it's smart meters, GMO food, Fukushima, is the damage to mitochondria, not just of individuals, but populations. Not just of humans, but flowers, animals, plants, lizards, insects. When you damage mitochondria, the life force is gone. And the life force you can measure, actually. We're going to actually be looking at putting up a company that can have a little device for a few $100. You can actually hold it with both thumb and forefingers, and you can actually measure in millivolts the millivoltage on your cells. You can look at the number and say, oh my gosh, what's my millivoltage today, and mark it on the calendar. And as you start taking things like Nutridyne, your millivoltage will go up. That's why we recommend other energetic technologies like Lumen Photon, Meteor, and PMT, because our population's getting sapped because of the scalar radiation, Fukushima, etc. And people are getting, how can I say, more challenged, more stressed, more lower millivoltages at a younger age chronologically. So they are getting older faster at a younger chronological age. And that's not good. In other words, what I'm describing here is what I call a genetic and a cellular apocalypse. Maybe we should call it the mitochondrial apocalypse. And the way we fight that, and this is interesting that Edgar Casey talked about this, is that Nutridyne would be considered in the 21st century one of the most important essential nutrients, but you're the only one that's been able to make it. Nutridyne is that essential. Give it to your pets, give it to your dog, cat. Make sure that you're taking it regularly, because we're getting major bursts of radiation. The last few days I'm noticing we're starting to get wavering here in Southern California. My radiation detector, it's going down to 18 to 20, and it's shooting up to 60. I'm thinking we're starting to get waves again of radiation from Fukushima. We weren't having it for a few months. 2 or 3 months we were having no waves. Now we're starting to see waves again, which tells me that they're not having control of the situation there. They're doing a war game in Japan. They're, quote, planning on, within 4 years, evacuation from Tokyo. The fact is, right now, any day, they could lose completely control of this area. And we've been putting up reports, like I did yesterday from Chris Harris. It's extremely unlikely that we're going to get out of 2012 without a major release of radiation. And if you're a betting man, and I'm not a gambler, but I was betting, and that's why I don't believe that there's, I call accidents on purposes. Most of the things that happen in the world are on purposes, whether they're physical, chemical, geopolitical, astrological, or spiritual. In other words, all the events are lined up to create a specific eventuality, and we're going to lose control of the situation because we haven't been doing what we should do. You can do it yourself, though. You can take Nutridyne. You can take Nutrichala. You can be ready with drinking clean water. And you can keep your zone of health in the zone of compensation. Don't sweat it. Just do what you can and move on. Nutridyne will save your life.
Well, that's the Dr. Deagle Show. I'm catching it the hour before the Earth changes. So, and I don't want to miss it. I want you guys to be able to watch it, listen to it, basically. You can't see it. But just like a radio show, I'm just not going to run the commercials. I just can't run the commercials right now. So, go ahead and clean the house. Don't sit there and stare at the computer screen, because there's really nothing to see. Just listen. Turn it way up and listen. And that's about it. I'll be jumping on and jumping off the computer until this show is over. And that's about it. There's really nothing to fill the commercial breaks with, and then to be able to jump back in time to catch the next segment. So let me check on this. No, still a commercial. Alrighty. I could maybe read more news headlines. I'm not sure yet. There's not a lot of news right now. I'm just waiting for the commercial break to end. I'm just talking so there's no dead air. And there was some dead air there, huh? Just got done with the regular news show that I did, and this is like an extra show. Let's see if he's back. Nope, not yet. So he's going to be talking about Nutridyne, some of the protocols he has, but he does make important comments in between, talking about his nutraceuticals. He's letting you know what's going on. They're going to talk about Nibiru too. That's coming up.
Pay as you go.
Yes, Nibiru is going to come up in the conversation on this hour. So I didn't want you guys to miss that. No, not yet. Wow. I should play music in between. Next time I do this, I will play music in between, my own music. Let's see.
Digestive.
Nope, not yet. We're waiting. We're standing by. See, and once he starts talking, then I leave the area also, and I'll start cleaning the house or do other things. We can't just be, you know, slaves to the computer screen. We got to get exercise. That was one of the good things about, you know, radio. You can multitask with radio. You can multitask with your computer as long as you're not stuck to the computer screen watching. You're just listening. It's better for your eyes also, instead of staring at a picture or some kind of slideshow that people put up. Just better off just getting stuff done, even exercising in between. It doesn't have to be music. You can listen to Dr. Deagle and exercise.
We had you back on, Ron. I asked a question when we were on the break. What is the form of energy that transmits through the tissues? We're going to have one of the scientific researchers at the University of Wisconsin is working on what's called ghost organ reanimation. What she does is take organs from various animals and or from dead humans and actually flushes all the cells from it. It takes stem cells from a person that are multiplied in the lab, infuse them into that organ that's being perfused in a laboratory environment with nutrients. The stem cells then integrate into the structure of the background framework of the previous dead organ that's had all the cells removed and reanimates that organ. And you have a new liver with the cellular content of the new donor, whether it's a pulsating heart, a liver, or another kidney. The background energy is called phonon maser waves, and those are light, infrared light, far near infrared, which is the frequency of molecules in solution. And water acts as a informational superconductor, translated through the cell membranes, I call it MEMBRAIN, with phonons being the vibration of molecules in solution as the phonon or sound, and also has electromagnetic properties. The biophotons are transmitted along the phenolic side groups of collagen. So that's why, as the acupuncturist has studied, looking at the ki or prana, what Dr. Nogier discovered that developed the Lumen Photon was that the pulsatile frequencies are like the carrier frequency of a television station, a frequency modulated TV station.
Right.
And when you set these frequencies, for example, 7 stops inflammation and pain. NICO is a combination of frequencies that stimulate stem cells, collagen regeneration, improve blood flow, and actual healing. Each frequency, the highest energy one is actually number 1, and the most calming is frequency setting number 7. So give us some examples of frequency 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 of what they do. I tell them the most portable energetic technology, because they call the power of ones: oxygen, nutrimeds, energetics, exercise, and stem cells. Stem cells, by the way, our most powerful stem cell releasers are Silver 100 and Collagen Max, Mountain Red Velvet, and the most powerful, most mobile therapy is Lumen Photon. Now, of course, you can get other things like electromagnetic using Meteor and PMT, but the most mobile energetic technology is Lumen Photon, and it penetrates up to 10 to 12 inches through bone, tissue, ligament, brain, with far infrared light, so it actually amplifies the cellular and tissue communication. So this lady, this research scientist up in Wisconsin, is very brilliant. She's been able to flush all the cells from organs from animals and humans. So all he has is basically the collagen and connective tissue framework. Infuses them with stem cells, puts them in a recirculator artificial pump, which we'll call it, to supply with nutrients, and regrows organs, novo, on the framework of that background. And it's the structure, the collagen and so on, that signals the DNA in the cells to actually make the cytostructure, to make it differentiate into certain subcells. And for example, the liver sinusoids and the Kupffer cell areas and all the little areas, the liver nodules that actually make up a liver. It's actually the connective tissue that signals the gene structure. Well, Lumen Photon does that. So that's why after surgery, if somebody has plastic surgery, they don't have pain. They don't get a scar. If you have sinus infections, people, if they take our program for sinuses with the Sinupulse, Alamax, Alamed, Silver 100, and they use Lumen Photon, if they get NICA, like we had a gentleman with a mandibular infection, and I recommended in the first hour, besides our protocol, he used Lumen Photon to get rid of his osteomyelitis of his bone from previous probably metal intolerance caused either the machining oils or metals that he's intolerant to with a chronic osteomyelitis. Lumen Photon will help him get rid of NECA and osteomyelitis in his bone. It also improves blood flow, but it stimulates tissue regeneration in osteopenia, osteoporosis in the spine, gets rid of NECA, or we call cavitations around the teeth, helps with chronic lung disease. You mentioned, tell us about the stories of the latest people that have called you and are now using it for COPD.
There have been probably 4 or 5 that have had it in the last couple of months that have called us where they, I mentioned this to a couple of friends, and one of those, the first one that was my dad. My dad was 88 and was having problem breathing, and we had him put it on his heart and on the lungs consistently. And at 88, he is much better. He's no longer the red face, red all throughout his body. It's an everyday thing. He has to do this literally every day, usually 2 or 3 times every day. But it definitely makes a difference for him. That's the simple one right there.
Well, what it's going to do is, I'll say mechanically, first, it'll increase blood flow. Second, it's an anti-inflammatory. 3, it's going to allow his mucociliary blanket to clear out the pathogens. And 4th, it allows enough blood flow that if he's taking natural antipathogenics or his immune cells, it activates them to try to deal with the infection. So it basically improves what's called bronchial hygiene. So it allows them to kind of clean the garbage down there that's causing chronic low-grade bronchitis and bronchiectasis. So
I actually see, and my mom has noted it also, that she's begun to use it also. But when Dad gets through doing this, he's actually a little bit on the chipper side for a while, because that's what releasing the endorphins in there, I assume.
I'd say if you get a home oximeter machine, which is really easy, it's about $120, and you measure his oximetry, and you don't just measure it sitting. What you do is walk back and forth fairly vigorously, say down the hall near a home. So if you went, if you got dizzy, you'd know. But without oxygen, if he just walks back and forth without notices, his oxygen level will increase. So if he was, say, running a saturation of, say, 85 in room air, because he's going to be lower than normal with COPD, he won't drop, let's say, to 75 when he walks. You'll see people that are starting to get proper bronchial hygiene with their inhalation with an Omron or Sinupulse, clearing their sinuses and airways, and using Lumen Photon. They're starting to get better bronchial hygiene. They don't have what we call alveolar arterial blockade. They're going to have better oxygen getting into their lung tissues across the membranes, and their oxygen levels won't drop. They won't be what we call desaturate. If you desaturate, for example, the best way to tell somebody's going to need to be admitted to the hospital is to literally have them on a mobile oximeter, and what I have the nurse do is just walk them up and down the hall. If they were started off at, say, 85 or 88, and then they drop to 75, they're on the way to the hospital. They're going to be in oxygen, and if they keep dropping through the evening, they're going to be intubated and put in artificial coma in the ICU. That's what I used for years, and that was very good criteria. Anybody working intensive care, respiratory and internal medicine knows that that's what happens. Now, at home, if you're not desaturating, it's good. It means you're starting to recover. Now, if you want to stimulate new tissue, you want to use Silver 100, Collagen Max, Mountain Red Velvet, and you want to use Lumen Photon because it'll actually start to heal and regenerate the lung tissue. It'll do it slowly, but it'll work. And you need to do it diligently, half an hour at least, to an hour twice a day.
Yeah.
But it'll make a big difference.
That really sounds good. Some people I know use it extensively, more than that. And
yeah, they can do it more than that, but as I say, that's a minimum you want. And we tell people that the Mountain Red Velvet and Collagen Max, Power C Plus, and Full Vitamin K2 are the scaffolding for the stem cells. I'm working on an upgrade to the Mountain Red Velvet, have a formulation improvement that'll make it even more powerful than it already is, which is just amazing. 396 biomolecules, but you need the energetics. When you have the energy with the Lumen Photon, your body can heal. So if you've got periodontal disease and you've had a deep cleaning, you have periodontitis, or the doctor's talking about extracting teeth or doing total, doing a root canal, no. Take our natural antipathogenics, clear the infection with the osteomyelitis. Before you ever even think about putting hardware in balls, get an environmental doctor to test for environmental metals in sensitivity, and if they need to, they can do a technique called LDA to reduce that sensitivity to the metal so you won't reject it and get osteomyelitis. That's the American Academy of Environmental Medicine. Lumen Photon, amazing technology. Get it today at Nutrimedical, 888-212-8871. Energy to heal. It's amazing. Very portable.
Well, that was interesting. It's like going back to class for myself. My goodness, it's a big review on all the cell structures and cycles. Alrighty, well, we're into the commercial right now. I believe there's 2 more before he does the earth changes. So hang in there. Hang in there. Let me turn my phone off. Oh, we'll turn the sound down. Let's see here. There we go. Alrighty. Let's see.
Easy trans.
Oh no, it'll be a few minutes. We'll keep checking on it. Yeah, this one I was just sitting all the way through from one commercial to the other, just I myself staring at the writing on the wall. Yes. Let's see where we are.
550 pure.
Nope. Not yet. But I think it's going to come up soon about Nibiru. I believe he's going to talk about it on this segment. That's why I went ahead and I started this show early.
Meteor.com.
Plus, I didn't want to take the chance on missing him. I'm waiting another 4 hours.
What a 96 of it.
Let's see.
Still available to be.
All the animals are sleeping right now. We had a busy day today.
Or call 86.
Except for Tippy. Tippy's looking for something. You get it, Tippy, if there's something under there. She's staring at something, but I don't see it. There might be something in here. Crawling around. Who knows? Might be a lizard, huh? We got a lot of lizards.
Hey, Dr. Bill.
And I hear that we are having some almost amazing news that the whole system is available. I've completed putting lots of my filter upgrades on my systems, which included the ion exchange resin. Got to explain the pure water system, because I hear lots of people that are, how can I say this to be nice? They're unqualified. They're pushing. That's the best thing I can say. Firstly, when you push things like the Cola Blue that pulls water out of the air, yes, it's good water, but the problem is it's still not completely filtered. It's like a dehumidifier. Puts it through a charcoal and maybe a sediment filter. Even if you do distillation, which is if you want to call it, is a power vampire, you're going to have in the distillate fire retardant jet fuel and other distillates that show up that are in the atmosphere that your body is not going to like. If you want to have pure water, I mean 100% pure water is lab water, or kind of water if you did an experiment, you wouldn't have toxins that will screw up your experiment. You want water that goes through a linear charcoal filter after sediment, goes through an ion exchange resin that'll actually pull out all of the chemicals, then goes through the best reverse.
Keeps cutting in and out. That's not me. That's a signal. Wow. Hopefully he'll come right back. I might upload this and then put another and then splice them together. That I might do. I don't want to lose any of this. Why is it stopped?
Osmosis membrane. So the only thing that comes on the other side is water. WH2O. H2O, water molecules. And then you add 9 to 18 parts per million of calcium and magnesium. This system, when you take the water, it's cleaner than any water you'll ever have on Earth. You can't make distilled water this clean. And that's what's important. It's the kind of water that if you contact, and you've done this before with labs, I have a system on my greenhouse. My plants are just amazing. There's no Fukushima in I just picked some peppers yesterday and some tomatoes out of my greenhouse. And they're going crazy because my greenhouse I use Sea Crop, which we'll be bringing back on, which is a special probiotic super grow stuff for growing your crops. And the water in my little greenhouse is filtered. I'm also going to be filtering all the water going to my trees because I have a water recovery system for my roof, so we'll filter that as well. You need to get a whole house system. This whole house system is coming as well. We have the BEV 100 snap on your tap, BEV 300 under the counter, and the BEV 200, which is the best portable water system in the world. You can have it in a tackle box. You throw it in the back of your truck or car. And you use a 12-volt pump, and you simply snap it on. It's called push valves. You know, the push, you just, these, I love the way you engineer this. It's really neat. You just literally pull a little snap, push it in, and it just snaps in place, and it's airtight.
It's really great. I wish I could take the credit for developing the little quick connect couplings for our.
I know, but the way you used all these technologies though in your system, and it's so easy to change the filters. I mean, when you do with the little wrench to kind of snap off the sediment filter and the two linear charcoal. By the way, it's not just regular charcoal; these are linear charcoal. When you drink the water, you see, we have people that come over that are some that are really into health and say, I've never drank water like that before. They haven't. You cannot be drinking normal tap garbage water and expect to stay healthy. It's just anomalous now. And the level of radiation coming from Fukushima, the level of toxic pollutants around the world just from China with their massive industry, the level of garbage that's getting in the water supply, the people even recycle, like in Orange County, California, just north of us here, north of Pendleton, they're taking microtubules and recycling water that's coming from microchip factories, hospitals, and in industry, and runoff from roads, and then they recirculate. Sometimes they'll pump it 20 miles up the road to the little stream so it trickles over some rocks and say, it's potable water again. And then if you did an analysis with nuclear magnetic resonance spectroscopy or IR spectroscopy or high-pressure chromatography, you're going to go, oops, there's 10,000 chemicals at parts per million or higher. Excuse me, your cells don't like that. And what level of toxins is acceptable? So pure water system, you've developed now, and it's just about ready because you want to have all different parts for different kinds of water. You also have a easily serviceable by you, not some expensive technician, whole system that'll be much cheaper than any system from Culligan or these other companies. And it won't remove everything, but it'll remove enough of the materials that your clothing will be washed clean, your dishwasher will wash clean, and your shower will not have trihalomethanes and other garbage. And then, of course, you add to that the pure water system for drinking water that removes everything. So that when you drink water, there's nothing in it except hydronium ion, which is a fancy chemical name for water.
Thanks, Dr. Bill. It's you really hit the nail on the head with the intro there. That a lot of people sell a lot of products in this market, in the water treatment market, and it's
doing all kinds of stuff. They're sticking through magnets, and they're doing all kinds of gas. Like, oh my gosh, yes, it's good to make water smoother if you put it through magnets, but it doesn't take out the radiotoxins, the chemicals, the distillates, the fire retardant, the jet fuel, the stuff that'll show up even if you distill it. And I get tired of people who are unqualified who open a damn mouth. It's really irritating to me because when you've been in an area for over a third of a century, and, I was working on my PhD in molecular biology back in 1973. That's 39 years ago. And I know a hell of a lot more than when I retired even in 2004. And it's extremely disturbing to have people think that they know better when they don't. And it's not being arrogant. It's like they're putting the public in danger is what they're doing. And they're telling people all you need is an E. coli blue, all you need is a Berkey, and it'll pull the cysts and bacteria and yeah, it will, but are you going to stop them from absorbing radiotoxins, chemicals, solvents, and all their crap that's going to show up, or even jet fuel and fire retardant? No, you're not.
And that's why our system is designed the way it is, because we know this combination of technology, this combination of treatment methods, is the same thing we use in laboratories. That's why we know it's proven. It's just, we know this is an extremely effective way to treat water. And there's a lot of companies that do carbon filters. Well, we use carbon filters. A lot of companies do reverse osmosis. We do reverse osmosis. Nobody else combines carbon, reverse osmosis, deionization together, and then further, we've got membrane filtration there to remove bacteria, cysts, and virus. It's people think water. I mean, I was just talking to a freight delivery driver at our facilities today, and they're talking, oh, what do you do? And well, we do water purification. Oh, I do. And she says, gee, water from different towns sure tastes different. And it's like, well, of course it does, because water, well, we all think, oh, H2O, okay, I get it. Well, it's H2O and a boatload of other stuff in there. And in every different town, even from one well to another, if you just are across the street, you can have very different properties in the water. And so this idea that water's all the same, and you just add a little carbon filter, it's going to make it taste better, and that's going to work for everybody. That's just crazy. I've got reports here, coliform bacteria in Massachusetts water supply. I've got arsenic released from a power plant in California. There's arsenic in Ohio that they're trying to figure out, why is there arsenic in the groundwater here? I mean, these are common...
And radon in Boulder, Colorado, and uranium in the water in lots of wells all through the northeastern United States. People say, Doc, how come my hair shows uranium? I said, send out to sample your water to, Accuchem Laboratories in Richardson, Texas, and they'll say, oh my gosh, my water has uranium. Well, guess what? You live in an old area where there probably is not only uranium. Wherever you see uranium and you see maybe gold, you're going to see arsenic. So if you see these radiotoxins, just like I took care of the Schwarzman mine employees up in Colorado, and it was above the water table for the Grand Lake Reservoir system, so we knew the water coming out through heading down to the lakes north of Denver, Colorado, radioactive. Now, the public doesn't know this, but we doctors were threatened. If you open your damn mouth, doctor, you're going to get fired. Isn't that nice to tell doctors the threats, we're going to fire you because you told the truth? Well, Dr. Deagle is no longer going to be quiet. I wasn't quiet then, which is why Dr. Deagle's got a radio show and isn't in practice right now. I'm causing a lot more trouble than I did when I was in practice.
Well, we love you, Dr. Bill, and the message that you bring to your listeners is a great one. I bring the truth,
and that's why I dare people, whether it's on spiritual issues, geopolitical, biochemical, or other issues, I dare them to think that they know better. They don't. Now, it's not being arrogant. It's a matter of, I'm an older brother. I do know better. If you don't want to be feeding your cat and your dog, your daughter, your husband, your wife, toxic water, and you think just turning the tap is perfectly fine to go, oh, that water's so cold, and you go, it has funny chlorine taste. It's not just chlorine. It's fluoride, it's trihalometane, it's all kinds of radiotoxins, birth control pill, chemotherapy, doping agents, you can microchips. God knows you don't want it in your body.
Well, it's another commercial, and I'll be cleaning my house up a little bit, so just sitting there this time. And I'll check on it in a few seconds. My goodness. This is a nice way to spend a Saturday evening. Nothing wrong with that. If you can hear me, I'm just walking around the house. putting things away. Here's a money-saving tip. Here, I'll give you a money-saving tip. If you're just sending books or some kind of paperwork that you can put into a book or notebook or folder, you can send it media mail to the post office, and it's so much cheaper than first class. Anything that's media, like a videotape, CDs. Some people, I know a lot of you know about it, but there's still a lot of people that don't know about that. It's called media mail, and that's all it can be is media. Just so you know. And keep that in mind. Keep that in mind if you need just to send someone a tape, a CD, a book, some kind of paperwork you could put in a folder so it's like a book. Has to be media. That's all it can be. It's not like letters and writing notes and all that kind of stuff. It has to be a book, magazine, whatever. Maybe you're mailing off a textbook to someone who left a textbook behind, or they bought a textbook or something and you're sending it to them. Media mail. It is so much cheaper. You put it in big boxes as long as it's all media.
Disaster.
Alright. Hopefully that's a helpful tip. Also, here's a preppy thing that I know I'm the only one who said it first, and now maybe someone else is going to say something. I've always said, if you're living by some kind of flood zone, say you're in the middle of the country, you're not by the ocean, you're not by any rivers or anything, but you're in some kind of flood zone, make sure you have a life jacket in the back seat of your car, like a flash flood zone. That way, for some reason, if you are, like your car gets trapped and now you're in some kind of current, at least you have, I know you got to watch out for debris, but at least you have a life jacket on. People can see you. You won't submerge as easily. And always go feet first so you can kick yourself off of any debris. You don't want to hit your head. You want to, if you're moving with the current, have your feet ahead of you. Hopefully that will help you. Keep that in mind. It might help you down the road in an emergency.
Let's say 10%.
Nope, it's still a commercial. Let's see, what else do I... Oh yeah, again, the little lights that you light up the walkway, the little solar lights. Buy some and keep them in your house and put them in some kind of, like I have a few of mine in a teapot facing the window, not by any curtains or anything, and all day it kind of like charges up through the window. It's not touching the window. The sunlight comes in, charges them up, and then at night I got like the night light with no batteries. Or if there's ever a power outage, I can walk around with them. I didn't put these in the dirt. And I took, some of them come with a spike. You take the spike off of it, off of the bottom, you know. But at least you have like a light, and you don't have to search for batteries and worry that the battery's going to run out.
So you can take out the radio
He's
toxins,
back.
and you want to run it through a BEV 100 system, probably in your house, or a 200 system if you're pumping from your pool, the 12-volt pump. So that's extremely important to consider that. By the way, Don, do we have Johnson available? Well, let's continue our discussion, Bob, because this is a really big issue. We had yesterday on the program our nuclear expert, Chris Harris. And we don't often get a chance to talk about this, but what's going on is, like, I don't know how... It's a good thing I have patience. Some people think I don't, because, you know, they say, oh, he talks too fast, we think he's arrogant, etc. I'm not. I'm really, really concerned because people aren't listening. Most people believe that we're on the verge of a major catastrophe. The weakening of the population due to radiotoxins is one of the groundworks that's laying the groundwork for the explosion that's happening, as announced yesterday, of H3N2V supervirus influenza, which is coming back from the 2009 flu epidemic. H3N2 is an old virus, but it's got the new genes from H1N1, the new super flu that was literally came from the Baxter facility in Mexico, south of Mexico City, that was bioengineered and proven by a top virologist at the University of Canberra. Now, how are these all tied together? Well, you weaken the population, and you get a number of people who start to get infected, and then they spread it, and they spread the bus. If you are not drinking clean water and there's major bursts of radiation, you can get immune system failure, you can get chronic fatigue, you can get depression, you can become what we call part of the zombie apocalypse, because if you damage your mitochondria, your most metabolically active tissues are your retina of your eye, your frontal lobes, and your higher cortical centers, and your metabolically active areas of, say, your heart muscle. So radiotoxins tend to affect those areas selectively. They also affect rapidly reproducing tissues like the Krebs cells in your gut, so you get leaky gut. The bone marrow cells making your lymphocytes to fight infection. That's why after Nagasaki and Hiroshima, people that drank the black rain, they ended up with immune system failure almost immediately and actually started getting gas gangrene while they were still having a pulse. Now, people say, well, that can't happen here. I said, yes, subacute radiation toxicity can happen here. It's happening in Japan. You'll see crazy behavior because people are starting to lose frontal lobe function, and the way to tell if they're skeptical is do a quantitative EEG, a SPECT scan, a functional MRI, or a PET scan. Now, doctors out there, if they want to test it, guarantee them it doesn't want to know. In fact, I've been in the process of putting together a whole package of information for Senator Feinstein's office and Senator Wyden to get data on what's going on with the, what I call Plumegate, the radiation looms for Fukushima. But it's not just Plumegate. It's the crazy attitude toward the EPA and the water. And you know, I think it was 30, 40 substances that are around 10,000 at parts per million or higher that are just on the list. And they'll tell you, oh, we think it's within acceptable limits. They're referring to a legal document of which chemicals they're watching. They're not even including radioiodine, strontium, cesium, whatever. And even in Canada, they're not testing, telling you which fish are radioactive, where they're testing the fish, where they're doing water sampling, altitude sampling, nothing. They're not giving us any data because they don't want to ask pesky questions. And when pesky Dr. Deagle asked questions at the University of California, Berkeley, Department of Nuclear Engineering, I talked to the top doctor there, who was German. He'd just been back from Germany, and after I had a few discussions with him, he shut down and wouldn't return my calls or emails, and they stopped reporting data on their website, which is testing food and water samples around San Francisco area, University of California, Berkeley. So it's everybody, and this is Dr. Bernhoff, 3 weeks ago, he's on the program, everybody in North America has radioactive strontium now in their body. Everybody. Everybody that's breathing now is breathing radioiodine. Everybody breathing is getting strontium and cesium. When strontium breaks down, it breaks down to yttrium and has such a high energy beta or electron emission that creates X-rays, so you can't even have lead shielding around people who have been strontium poisoned. So somebody was inadvertently strontium poisoned. People say, oh, I don't agree. I said, well, you know, the problem is people need to do a very powerful skill I learned at age 3. It's called reading. But even doctors don't do it. And the worst thing is people don't just read. They don't ask questions. They don't want to know. And that's why we call the lowest common denominator. We have politicians who pretend that they know, pretend that they care, and pretend they're actually going to do something. But you need to take action yourself. So, Bob, when you hear about people like you live in Washington State, the average person has no clue about how toxic their water is and how much it's going to ruin their health. They don't realize the end from the beginning that 10 years or 20 years of drinking bad water may be the reason why they got a acute myelogenous leukemia, or their immune system fails, or they got an autoimmune disease, or they developed early dementia, or the virus that they got when they were a child because they had toxins in their body caused the virus to explode and cause a toxic viral dementia, where the glial cells were activated by the toxins, and eventually the virus took off and destroyed and caused astroglia to go on fire, and the neurons to die or go into metabolic stasis. People say, "Oh, Dr. Deagle, you're just exaggerating." He said, "You know what? I'm getting tired of people saying that kind of crap. I don't know. I dare them even want to call in. Call in right now if you think you know better. 2-800-259-5791. Call in now. It'll be like what I call a slugfest with Spider-Man, because I'm tired of people who think they know better, who are getting alternative advice from unqualified idiots. They're going to put you in danger." Your comments, Bob?
Well, Dr. Bill, I think you when it comes to water, you really are, I believe most of the things you say is as well, but of course I focus my energy on the world of water, and there's no question that
water's the main conduit for toxins in your body. It's the #1 conduit for toxins.
That's right.
You're going to get in your...
we drink, next to air, the thing we consume the most is water.
But it's more concentrated. How much more toxins are you going to get in your water?
What? Your food all grew with water. So if the toxins are in your water, they're also in your food. So,
which is why I tell people everybody should have a greenhouse. Everybody should have a greenhouse. This is what I call the days of sorrows. If you don't have a greenhouse now, do not be surprised if Dr. Deagle's right and somebody's going around as an activist and they have stickers, just like they have now sticker brigades going around, does not contain GMO. And you're going to see them. They're already happening in California and elsewhere, because we've got a big bill that's going to be passed here shortly. Then in a year or two, if the disaster happens as I expect, you'll see people putting stickers with their little radiation detector, radiation safe. In other words, if it doesn't have that little sticker on by a citizen brigade that's actually put a scanner over the food, the fish market, etc., don't buy it. Back away from the fish counter. People say, "Dr. Deagle, you're exaggerating." I say, "Are you kidding? You do 2 or 3 years of eating radioactive food, whether it's bread, cheese, milk, or whatever, you better be taking our nutraceuticals. And if you do, you're going to badly reduce the risk of you absorbing it." I don't freak out when people say, "Well, you're going to eat such and such organ cheese." I said, "I'm taking my Keeler Max and liquid zeolite and cell defense. My body can handle it. I'm drinking clean filtered water. I can flush these toxins through. I'm not sweating it." But the person's not taking Nutridyne, Keeler Max, NutriDefense, Nutritrala. I'm not going to say God help you, because he's already sent his witness to tell you, if you pay attention to this, we have now the equivalent release of radiation as if we already suffered World War III. Fukushima has released the radiation equivalent of WW3 already, and it hasn't even started to get steam on. The amount of radiation that's been calculated that could be released from the fuel rod assembly pool alone could be 30 to 100 times if only 10% of the fuel rods lose control, which they're just averted 3.5 weeks ago. So, get a pure water system. Nutrimeds is the key code word. Please do not think any other water system is equivalent. It's not. You need 100% clean water, essentially, as I say, to keep yourself in the zone of compensation. Yes, you can't make all your food perfect. We can take your Nutrimeds, and if you get in your zone of compensation, your body will get rid of damaged cells, replace them with good, healthy cells, and you'll live and prosper. But if you don't, and you keep drinking toxic, radioactive, biotoxin, chemical-induced, laced, fluoridated water, you're going to ruin your health. Nutrimed is a code word. Thank you, Bob. We'll be back in a moment with Preparedness Civil Defense.
Alrighty. Well, we're going into the next commercial. There might be one more, and then we're into the earth changes. Sound like he said that we're going into the preparedness and the earth changes. That's good. Hopefully the computer will hold up and it won't shut off on me. Now, let me think about some other tips for you, instead of just talking about nothing and to stand by. Let's see. Well, if you do take, you know, if you do have vitamins and supplies, you should try to get as much as you can, so that you're not hurting. Like, even if you do have prescription medications you can't live without for 2 to 3 weeks, I would suggest you have a little bit of an extra supply, really as much as you can. Just like in Louisiana, when they couldn't get any medications in or out, a lot of people must have got very sick or even died from not having their medications. So I want you to think carefully. What if all the power's out and all the stores are closed? Or what if just all the stores are closed for one reason or another? Or the money is no good anymore? I want you to have extra supplies on hand. Some in, you should always have some in your car. Some in your, you should have some in a grab and go bag in case you have to take off. But you want to have quite a bit of extra supply on hand, just in case, because now I'm hearing most of the medications are not made in the US. The capsules are, the empty, casings of it, like the capsules might be made here. I don't know, most things aren't made in America anymore. So if there's some kind of conflict or collapse where they're making your medication, that's also another reason why you might want to have extra on hand. Not just 1 or 2 days extra either. You might want months supplies. And always have a pill cutter too, somewhere available, just in case you're running out, but you don't want to totally completely stop or something. You might need a pill cutter just in case. And what else? Wait, let me.
Yeah, but
he's back.
It's big enough to take out a chunk of France if it hit. 1% chance is pretty big, and of course each calculation makes it closer and closer. Plus it has a debris field, and it may not be the only object that's coming into near space.
Nibiru, here we go.
John, what's your latest update in terms of what's going on? Because I know you're doing a lot of shows on.
I've been on the phone literally all afternoon. I was going to do a workout at the country club, but that got pushed aside. I got 2 private sources telling me that the Norfolk Virginia Naval Base is being evacuated. The ship's in dry dock. They're trying to get out of dry dock as fast as they can, and everything else is being moved to high ground. Camp Lejeune, the Marine base in North Carolina, is being evacuated to Fort Knox. Fort Bragg is in the process of being evacuated, and Camp Pendleton, the Marine base not far from you, in California, is being evacuated also. These things are happening.
By evacuating, you mean they're evacuating the military out of there, or they're doing a war game?
Heavy equipment and men and supplies.
How far inland are they going?
The people from Bragg are going to, some of them are going to Pennsylvania. They're probably going to different locations. The one outfit, they're being told that they're being moved to Pennsylvania, getting ready to go to war in Syria, which makes no sense at all. You wouldn't move everything twice.
Right.
But that's a cover story. And they have a due date of 2 weeks from today. They have everything has to be done in the next 2 weeks.
Now, do you think it's a war game, or do you think it's based on?
No, this is a war game. This is being based on these oceans coming out of the basins. That's what's going on. They're getting ready for the oceans to come out of their basins, and they're on a very fast track. I'm continuing to get calls from my sources basically every few minutes as they check with their people and get back with me.
Yeah, that's pretty scary.
Well, it's about as scary as it gets. I'll be talking to my daughter tonight and getting her family ready to evacuate the West Coast.
Now, how far inland do you think people will need to go in order to be away from the disaster?
They need to be, the Navy says 400 feet above sea level. I say 800 to be safe.
I'm 7 miles in at 1,000 feet.
You should be fine.
Yeah, I'll be fine.
You should be fine.
And I knew that actually. I prayed on it. I thought, I don't want to be right on the coast because I knew about the danger of tsunamis. And if you have a tsunami that's like Sendai, Japan, it's interesting that the kill zone is the Sendai tsunami. If you were like yards from where the water stopped, it looked like nothing happened at all. If you could take pictures of the homes and the power lines and everything and say, whoa, this looks like a beautiful place, trees and everything, you couldn't believe it. If it wasn't the Fukushima Daiichi plant blowing up with the nuclear material, right after the disaster, they could have started rebuilding right away. But the area that the tsunami hits, and again, every 300 to 500 years, and this is interesting, every 300 to 500 years, a tsunami from the Azores strikes the east coast of the United States. Every 300 to 500 years. We're not talking about 300 to 500,000 years. Same thing on the west coast. The natives have said this. Every 300 to 500 years, there's a big major tsunami strike from the Cascadia subduction zone that strikes the west coast of the United States. That's pretty close, actually, the one off the Cascadia. I think it's around 1,200 miles long from Vancouver Island all the way close to southern Oregon. That's a pretty big zone. So, yeah, I agree. I think that people need to be at least above 400 feet and inland about 5 to 7 months. And on the east coast
are private, confidential sources, and they're confirming each other's information. Sometimes very cryptically, but they are giving us confirmation.
Okay. Now, those are for the military sources. Now,
right.
Do you have any astronomical ones, or do you have any animal?
No, that's we're cut off from that stuff coming out of the Antarctic. And your guy in Brazil is probably the best we've got. What's his name?
I'm trying to remember. I posted it up a week or so ago. I think that's Ramos. I think it is. He's one of the senior astronomers at the Brazilian Observatory, and he's actually posted up information. He actually spotted this object coming in. He's actually leaked information that I've had from other sources going back over 4 or 5 years now from the SPT South Pole Telescope. And they have the IRAS, the infrared telescope. They have the X-ray telescope aimed out in space, and what's called a stereo telescope, so that it can look at the sun or any infrared object. There's tons of information that shows that this object's coming in. This is not like I just don't know the exact dates. I do know that one of the things I was told at Space Command back in the mid-90s is that their favorite place to build underground cities was dormant magma domes when the crust of the Earth moves on the mantle. And I said, what? Yeah, the crust of the Earth moves on the mantle. And they've known this has happened over millions of years. And the fact that the crust moves on the mantle is not surprising at all, is it? It really does happen.
No, the liquid moving underneath is solid. But those domes, those old magma domes would do a lot of the work for them. They'd be massive, already underground sculpted areas.
Yeah, and those magma domes are anywhere from 4 to 12 cubic miles in size, so they're ideal for placing a city inside. The next would be matrix cities that they create by tunneling devices. They're not like what I call very Model T type channel tunneling devices. These are sodium-cooled nuclear reactor that hit the rock face at 10,000 degrees, impact lasers, and blow the debris on the side to create an obsidian core and lay down track, a tri-radiate track at the rate now, back in the mid-90s to the late 90s, it was actually around 7 miles per day. Now it's up to 14 to plus miles per day, and they're much bigger tunnels. So they've been building these cities, by the way, in America, just in the United States, average 6.5 to 7 cubic miles in size, total volume, every 7 weeks. So when people are wondering where a lot of the money going to Bechtel Corporation, these other corporations, is to build underground cities anywhere from 1.5 miles to 4 miles underground. And they're all over, they're crisscrossing all over the country, high-speed maglev trains everywhere. People say, oh, Dr. Deagle, this is where you get off on it. We don't want to believe you. I said, well, it's too bad, you know, the government spent hundreds of trillions of dollars on COG, continuity of government, continuity of what I call the elite.
Well, that's absolutely true, and the information I'm getting is very disturbing. I've known for years that we would eventually get to this day, and perhaps we are here.
Now, one of the things that's, if you just want to intersect all these different timelines, the government has been buying bullets. If you actually look at the requisition of government purchase of bullets and material, the movement back of 200,000 drones The government's getting ready for something where the population is not going to like what the government's going to do. Whether it's an avian swine flu pandemic. By the way, we now have the alerts yesterday. I have Tim Alexander had reported to the Indiana Department of Health. We're now having a report in Hawaii and all over the place that the H3N2V, which contains the H1N1 swine virus genetics, is exploding all over America now. So we're having another pandemic. Another pandemic is starting right now. Not next year, not next month, today.
Yeah, flu in the summertime, about that.
That's not normal. On top of the fact we get a weakened population, and Fukushima is starting to kind of cause layering. So I'm seeing my radiation detector here in Southern California, 18 to 22, and now it's surging up to 60. I'm thinking, this has not been happening for 4 months. Now it's starting to do it again. It's doing the background in February, March. Now it's doing it again. So something's happening in Fukushima, and they're getting no reports of exactly how bad it is there. We get back more from John Moore and Morrison. Stay tuned.
Oh my goodness. Oh my goodness. Oh my goodness. OMG. Which also means oh my god. And I was just talking about make sure you have enough medication if your life depends on medication. Make sure you have enough vitamins so that if you are eating crappy stuff out there, because there is no other way of getting food, at least you can supplement with vitamins. Alrighty. What I just heard, they're giving 2 weeks. You should make this go viral. Take my video and make it go viral. And you know you're going to tell a lot of the people, this is what's going on, and they're not going to believe you. And again, like I said before, go ahead and tell them. They don't want to listen. Tell them one more time. Stop wasting your time. Get prepared. And I guess we all have to head above 800 feet somewhere. Or, I don't know if you have a submarine, boats, I don't know. My sailboat is all the way in California. Darn. It's like time for Noah's Ark. Hi, Tippy. Whoa, doggy. That's terrible. Well, I don't know. He's saying 2 weeks from today. So I guess I would try to be even earlier than that. Maybe there's a reason why we're all on unemployment. Maybe we have the freedom to go. Or those who, my unemployment stopped. Those who have, what is it they said in Fight Club? You can't do, you're not free to do anything. You're free to do everything when you lose everything. If that makes sense to you. Or however they said it. But something on those lines. My goodness. I don't know what to think about that. I'm in shock like you are. Because I'm going live. Still a commercial. Let's hear what else he has to say. But get your grab and go bags ready. And you want to leave before, leave before the crowd decides to go. For those who are awake. You know what I'm saying? I guess we should... I don't know if I would go north. I wouldn't want to be by Fukushima stuff. We might have to go south. And up. Southern hemisphere. And then go up into above 800 feet. Just to be sure. And you say, oh, well... Nothing will happen. If you see the train coming, you better get out of the way. Alright? My goodness.
America's #1 source for independent talk radio for over a decade. We are the GCN Radio Network.
I'm sure he'll repeat this again.
I remember when I lost my mind. I was so present about that place. Even your emotions had an echo in my face.
Welcome back, and John, tell us more about your colleague and the kind of information. You mentioned Pendleton, by the way, Marine Corps base. Virtually all of it is on the coast, within probably like a mile. And it's actually, at, I would say, maybe 300, 400 feet above sea level.
My colleague at Republic Broadcasting, Mike Harris, and I are working closely on this. He has multiple sources in the military and in the intelligence community, both. And I got word about 3 hours ago from a source that Norfolk, Virginia Naval Base was being evacuated. And then Mike called me about an hour ago and told me that he got independent confirmation from a Navy SEAL at Norfolk Naval Base that they were in fact evacuating.
Mm-hmm. Now, okay, let's say that this is all true and going to happen. Let's say in the next month to 2 months. The consequences are a massive inundation of the east and west coast, probably much more severe on the east coast than the west coast, because the west coast geology is completely different, where it rises within about a mile or so from the west coast to about 500 to 600 feet above sea level. Whereas
not like a lot of critical infrastructure on the west coast. It's quite
in fact,
near sea level.
Yeah, here's the other thing most people don't realize. A lot of the
Gobi Desert.
Yeah, like, what are they doing? Also, by the way, this is tied in with Maurice Strong, by the way, is tied in with the investment. They have 100,000 warehouses they built in the last 5 years alone, storing every kind of material from wood from Africa to coal to special minerals, metals, everything stored in giant warehouses, and it's not even lined up to be sent off to be manufacturing plants to be turned to, iPads or anything. It's just being stored.
It's just being they're storing up strategic material that they need for the future.
Right. So in other words, logistically, they're storing up, and this is a conservative number, 100,000 warehouses, and we're talking about 1 million square feet plus each one of them. These are giant warehouses.
Well, there's only 3 things that matter in war: logistics, logistics, logistics.
Yeah, I know you're the expert on that. So now 2 weeks is basically the date when they think this is going to start to transpire. What do you think will be the first warning sign of it in terms of the Earth? Because what we're going to have is not a near passage of an object that's going to come in a very short distance. We're talking about something that will probably be somewhere around 55 million miles. There's 2 types of consequences that will happen. First is gravity waves and the effect on what's called the plasma activity inside the sun and inside the Earth. Most people don't realize the Earth is a nuclear reactor with a crust on it and a geomagnetic envelope or force field around it that prevents it would develop something called a Van Allen radiation belt. And the sun is, again, a giant nuclear fusion reactor. So the Earth is a nuclear reactor. People only realize that we're living on the crust of a nuclear reactor. It's the weirdest thing, We actually think you're spinning in space, living on the crust in a little blue line of thin air in a radiation reduced environment that is very fragile. And when magnetic field drops,
things we're looking at. This energy could lose the rocks at the Canary Islands, and the second thing would be this energy could cause a pole shift.
Now, the pole shift doesn't mean an entire pole reversal.
No, it could all it would take would be 15 degrees. That would be enough to bring these oceans out of their basements.
I think one of the things that the research that I saw, I think it was 80 million years ago, Alaska was on the equator.
Well, you can dig down through the permafrost and find tropical plants right now.
Right. Now, also we know that the climate was quite different as little as 12 to 15,000 years ago. That I remember my friends went up to Baffin Island from the Woods Hole, Massachusetts, and the Bedford Institute in Halifax, Nova Scotia, where I did research with Bedford Institute. And I had friends that actually were in my class that went up to Baffin Island, and they were actually exhumed tusks of woolly mammoths that were 26 feet long, 3 times larger in mass than the average-sized African elephant.
Oh yeah.
They had giant trees that were like were looming like the Douglas firs, 200 feet above ground in Baffin Island. Now, Baffin Island, you got to get an idea how big it is. Baffin Island is like half the size of Australia.
Well, that's a big place.
It's a big place, and so when you get up to these areas, you think, oh no, it's just an island, just a little. No. Baffin Island's big. Just go look at the map of the Dang, I think Deagle's right. This is a big island. So that climate changed very rapidly.
I need to scoot here. You guys have a great show.
If there's any major breakthroughs,
I'm going to give you a call. We're going to be talking next week.
So in other words, the scary alarm is not turned off. Oh boy. Sounds good. We'll hear more from Ann in a moment. And of course, bottom of the hour, we hope to get Christina Consolo. Robert's off for a little while doing some research. Get back in a moment.
Well, my computer froze, which you missed. When he came back, he was talking about the cities in China that are about 200 miles in. They're like mega cities, giant cities that are empty, and how they were built, I guess, because they know something's getting ready to happen on the coastlines, and they have all these ghost towns, cities that are ready to go for when they evacuate into them. I would assume, now he didn't say this, but I would assume if that is what their purpose is for, because they're talking pole shift. They're talking the Bureau is coming in, and that the oceans are going to be moved out of their basins, and I guess he said Alaska was on the equator. North Pole was on the equator or something before 80 million years ago or whatever. Okay, they're saying, I would Google Earth and see if you can keep track of those cities. If they're going to start filling the cities up, then you know. If you can Google Earth those cities, then you would have the heads up, I would assume, because they'll do it. They should be doing it very soon, if that's what those cities are for, and they start evacuating the coastlines. I don't think this is like some kind of scare tactic. I really believe they're serious, and they're saying they're hoarding all the materials. I don't think that's World War III stuff. They're talking, and on top of everything else, maybe with HARP, they're going to start having some kind of weather war on top of everything else. So say there's not a pole shift. That doesn't mean they're not going to have a HARP war, a weather war. My goodness. Well, I guess being on the Space Coast, I'm at 0 sea level. I'm right on ground zero. So we might be broadcasting from somewhere else. Let's sit back and think about this. We're not going to panic. We're going to move in an orderly fashion. Get prepared. Pray. But maybe there's a reason why you're finding out about it. I'm finding out about it right now. Maybe we were meant to survive this. You get what I'm saying? This might be divine intervention for us, the ones that are awake, the ones that are listening to this, to be prepared and move. And I would say move ASAP, just in case. I know that the Mayan calendar is better, from what all the information I gathered, is better than our own calendar. They know about all the lunar eclipses, solar eclipses, why would they be off with anything else?
Bus or a refrigerator as well. And that object is going to come pretty close. I think it's a 1% chance, but I looked on the JPL site last week, it's a 1% chance of it impacting on Earth, which means it could take out something in the area the size of Luxembourg. You know, it's pretty big. If you take an area load of, let's say, 300 to 400 square miles.
Not a meteor now.
Easy.
Well, the thing I'm interested in was that in in this last March, they said it was going to pass at a distance of 16,000, 17,000 miles, and now they're saying it's going to pass within 5,000 miles. The Earth gravitational field is going to alter the asteroid's path significantly because the Earth is so much bigger than the asteroid.
Yeah.
So it just may pull it in. 5,000 miles is not that far away.
Right.
It would be as hard if the whole asteroid were to... Actually, the one that hit Tunguska broke apart in the atmosphere, and it damaged, it obliterated an area the size of the country of Luxembourg.
Right. Well, actually, I think it was, I think the one in Tunguska covered an area of somewhere around...
830 square miles.
Yeah, it was a huge area. It was a huge area, 830 square miles. By the way, there was a microblast that hit Colorado in the mountains, and we talked about this in the show about 4 or 5 years ago. That microburst, which is the higher speed, air can come down from the upper troposphere, 30, 40,000 miles, 50,000 feet up. And when it descended, by the way, it was hitting a speed of 800 to 1,000 miles an hour, and it flattened 800 square miles of forest in the in a remote area of Colorado back up, over a decade and a half ago. These kind of extreme weather things can happen.
On the JPL NEO website, the condition code is 4, and that means that the uncertainty in the orbit is large. So they don't know whether it's going to be 5,000 miles plus 3,000 miles or 5,000 miles minus 1,000 miles, for instance.
Now, we keep on telling people, and I'm going to be doing a update to our preparedness, and then the last thing, we're going to have a little update from Christina Consola, who will be on Monday, talking about the radiation and all the anomalies occurring from it. If you look at the convergence issues, we've got crop failure everywhere, economic implosion occurring in Europe. We have the West pushing like crazy with the Congress and Senate pushing a bill to actually cause an act of war, which is basically an embargo against even financial institutions in China. The China is called the China Bank of Iraq. And they've been doing financial transactions to allow the Iranians to sell their oil, although we passed the Kirk Amendment that allows Russia and China to avoid the embargo against Iranian oil. We're basically squeezing the Iranians, which basically they're saying they're buying staples for their food, for their population. And most of the countries like India and other countries, Japan, have cut their purchases of Iranian oil. The biggest problem is they're saying they have to have Iranian tankers bring oil in to their service depots in India, and they're not able to have enough tankers to do it. So a lot of them, they've loaded up all the tankers they can, and they're often circulating out in the ocean before they can even distribute. If they do completely close down the ability to financially for Iran to sell their oil, they guarantee the Iranians have already passed a bill a month ago, will close the Strait of Hormuz. Now, this is all happening at the same time when you have these nearest objects coming by in the next 6 months. When we have literally the next 2 to 6 weeks, according to John's sources, and that we have a major event going to happen to the planet. Now, I don't have a confirmation of that in terms of dating, but I do know that we are likely to have major Earth changes increasing. The most serious of them, by the way, is what you've talked about, and we've talked about, is called a coronal mass ejection, not a pole shift. CME is increasing. We know next year is the peak of cycle 24. If, I think it's, what's the name of that cycle? AR 17 something. Which you can go to 1540. We can go to the spaceweather.com website. You can see this site is like a madman with a shotgun spinning on a platform, blindfolded, shooting out into space. And if any of these shots are, Earth-centric, they hit the Earth with an X or M class, we could have major degradation. And there's some very strong suspicion that besides the peak loading by farmers trying to pump water in India, that the CMEs, where the underlying reason why the grid failed in India. What's your theory on that? Do you think that there was an interaction there between extra load from the pumping and maybe coal mass ejection causing a surge on our grid so the grid failed?
You came pretty late for that. I'm suspecting.
But you can have degradation even a week or two.
Terrorism.
Yeah, but you have degradation even a week or two before. People think it has to happen like within a certain number of hours or days. Well, I found from the power experts, you can actually burn out power substations, and they can kind of just degrade them so they're going to fail, let's say, 2 weeks or a month or so later. It doesn't happen to happen right away. And then you put an extra load because now all of a sudden everybody's pumping water because they have a horrible drought, and the power grid can't withstand that load because the step-down transformers and other things have already been degraded by the surge of power on the lines.
Yeah, and they do have a lot of people that steal the electricity. They just make unauthorized attachments to the power lines.
Oh, really?
So
Yeah. Yeah, I heard that there are various states, too, that are stealing more power than they're supposed to because the government runs the power grid, but most of the manufacturers of power are private. So it's a really stupid system the way they have it set up in India. They don't have public power generation, and they don't have, ways of controlling the power grid that maintain some kind of, without the Wild West on power where, people are grabbing more power than they should or are able to grab, and then the grid goes down.
By the way, speaking of that, the oil pipelines that cross from Egypt over into Israel, they cross the Sinai, and people will go and they'll punch a hole deliberately in the pipeline, and then they'll fill up their buckets with the oil and steal the oil that way. And occasionally it'll happen that there'll be a light of some kind and it'll explode and they'll have a pipeline explosion. Now the Israelis have called back anybody who is in Sinai right now. Because of the change in government in Egypt, the Sinai is no longer safe for Israelis. And in fact, they think the major attack will come from the Sinai, from Egypt.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, exactly. In other words, what we see happening is now the Muslim Brotherhood's there. That the alignments between the military and the current Mr. Morsi are likely to increase the danger to Israel. And Israel, of course, is not the type of country you tick off. If Israel thinks you're about to attack, they're going to attack you.
Yeah.
And that means Hezbollah in Lebanon, it means Syria, where they literally just averted an attack. They were literally backed off by the IDF itself because they said, no, we don't need to do that. Just like I personally don't think you need to actually do this military maneuver, economic maneuver to attack Iran by full sanctions yet. I think it should be held back. What they need to do is say we're going to have a United Nations demand that you have full inspection of all the sites and you have people in place permanently to make sure that they can't grade weapons-grade uranium. And the Russians and Chinese actually would be stupid not to agree to that, because if they don't, what the West will do is they will allow the Israelis to go crazy. And the Israelis have shown it before at the Osirak reactor in Syria many years ago, back in the 80s, where they attacked
I remember that, yeah.
And where they also attacked was a year or two ago, again, back in Syria, the North Koreans were building a nuclear plant as well in Syria. So the Syrians want nuclear weapons. And it wouldn't at all surprise me that they already have short-range missiles and they have nuclear material from Pakistan, because Pakistan has the third biggest nuclear weapons stockpile generation system on Earth right now. So Pakistan does. And everybody's not talking about Iran and Syria. The real guys to really watch are Pakistan. And Pakistan's no little country. It has enough nuclear forces to take out India of 1.2 billion people.
Okay, closer to home, Edison, which runs the reactors at San Onofre,
yes.
Reactor number 2 and reactor number 3 have been shut down because of the two problems. Well, they're suggesting, this came out on Nuclear Street News on Wednesday, that reactor 2, they set a restart date of November 18th unit for reactor.
Do you feel the aches and pains of your age? Do you often feel tight, and is your mind often clouded and forget when it's time to stop the clock on aging?
Alrighty, I'm letting some family and relatives know right now. So you go ahead and maybe make some calls and make sure they're going to watch this show or make it go viral. I'm taking a break for a minute. I got to let my family know. Well, so we know August 17th is D-Day, huh?
Horrible foods.
You know? We'll see. I thought it was August 17th or September 26th. But, as soon as everyone starts talking about this, I'm sure it's the SHTF is what's going to happen. Oh, this is no good. I'm talking to you out there in Cyberland. I think everybody should start investigating this information and post it on my under the comments so we know what's going on. I'll do the same thing. I'm going to start investigating this, but this doesn't look good, you know. So, I'm not fear-mongering. We're prepping. We're preparing. Okay? But this is a real big heads up. This is a super heads up. Man. Just, oh man. Sometimes you think it's better not to know. You know, the more education you have, the more you see how things are messed up. I remember a professor telling me that. You know? Because you really see how things are really working. The more education you have, sometimes you're just better off not knowing. All I have to say, if people don't believe you, don't you stay behind. Just do what you gotta do.
It can be stolen.
You know what I'm saying? I wonder if that means I can put off paying some bills until the next month. I'll push all the electrical and everything ahead. Get like an extension. Just in case, we could extension all our utilities for the next month. That way you have some cash on hand.
Radio.
Here we go.
Great Talk Radio starts here.
Welcome back, and we're joined with Christina Consola. I want you to complete that thought and about the steam turbines up in San Onofre, no more than about 12 miles away from where I'm actually sitting here in my studio. Very happy when they shut the plant down, because I know when they had the station blackout, we had a surge in radioisotopes because it went up to 4 times background for about 3 or 4 days. So I never having problems with Fukushima, but it didn't just fluctuate, it stayed up there for about 3 to 4 days after we had that power blackout September 8th last year. This is not a rational thing they're doing, and this new director of the NRC not coming out with a public statement saying, I object. To me, there's a basic flaw in the design. It's not, quote, like or equal engineering-wise when the original design said 9,750 tubes per turbine. And now they're putting a lot more tubes. They say they're just going to plug them up, the ones that are not having or they're leaking. This is crazy. There's a basic flaw in the design. And they know it's going to release tritium, they know it's going to release radioisotopes, and they know it's not safe. It's also, by the way, sitting across from a subduction fault zone, which they found, I think, around 13 years ago, the San Jacinto Fault upthrust, which is virtually identical to the upthrust zone that caused the Sendai, Japan tsunami. And that's only about 4.5 miles off the Coast Hamilton Marine Corps base and San Onofre.
Well, we know that the coast along California is in subsidence, so it's going to fall. The coast along California is going to fall. The coast along the northwest is going to raise because it has the Juan de Fuca plate, and the Juan de Fuca plate is going to push it up. So you have to take that into consideration too.
Well, what's going on is the subduction is underneath the Pacific plate, which is in California, so it's diving underneath the North American plate, and
not in California, not along the California one.
Yeah, well, that area there, we have the San Jacinto upthrust zone there, just off the coast.
In any case, what they want to do is they have about 10,000, they have about 20,000 tubes per reactor. They have two reactors, reactor 2 and reactor 3. Both of them have bad tubes. What they're going to do is they're going to take some of the tubes out of service. And these tubes carry the radioactive water that is hot, that they use to run the steam generators. And they're not doing a full design review on this. They say, well, we'll just reduce the power, and so we won't have so much stress on the tubes, even though we have fewer tubes, and also we won't have as much shaking or vibration.
Right.
And this does not make sense to me. I mean, they should have a full design review before they make this decision.
I think so, too. And to me, it's without being a nuclear engineer, having worked as a doctor on nuclear plants and knowing enough, especially since last year, talking to Chris and other experts, this is craziness. And it basically says, oh, we don't care about the health of 26 million Americans living within, say, 30, 40 miles of the plant. We don't care. We don't care if we make the whole place radioactive. And, Jay Leno had some things with all his fancy cars. It's no big deal. Sorry, Jay, if the prevailing wind carries it there and that plant loses control, like the plants in Japan, there's a lot of radiation stored over 40 years.
Well, it keeps cutting out. I don't know why it keeps cutting out. See? I'm right here. Why? They're cutting it out. Maybe because you said Jay Leno. Stand by. He's still talking, but we're not receiving it from the radio station. That's nice. That's like totally censored. Hang in there. They'll probably come back on in a second. Yeah. I think I need... I'm going to drink a soda. Does it really matter? I'll drink a soda. Man. Oh! It's fluctuating and jumping around. And the colors are changing. Why? Why is the color changing? Oh, goodness. We lost the signal somehow. Ridiculous. Cutting out. They'll come back. I guess it's censored. Rhodey, eat your food. Rhodey, honey, there's food up there. Go eat your food. Stop hiding from that. Bad boy cat's asleep. That bad boy cat is bothering me. He's asleep. Well, looks like we lost it.
This is going to get bad.
Well, and I'm afraid is what's going to be really bad for the people there. And these tubes are so critical to the operation of the plant.
Well, what John says is going to happen, to make it all kind of moot points. I mean, if you have a major tsunamis or swamping, I mean, you
look at that, they're cutting them out. Oh. Maybe we can catch it again, but I think we heard the most important part. Is anything else going to matter? My goodness. Well.
That's a big old, isn't it?
Yeah, and that's not talked about in any of these reports either about the tube.
Now, by the way, is this liquid radioactive waste or solid waste? What form is it?
This is solid waste. These are fuel rods. They're not dry casts. They're in fuel pools.
Fuel pools. Fuel pools. Sounds like almost like fool pools. Would that be a better term for them?
Possibly.
Can you tell me how to access that Facebook page?
Yes, you can find it by searching for San Onofre Nuclear Generating Station and Diablo Canyon. And we just keep adding them whenever a reactor problem comes up. I think we're up to 12 or 13 in addition to the Fukushima page that we have.
So you just go San Onofre nuclear regeneration page? Is that how you search for?
It's for people who don't want all the nuclear news. They just want what's going on in their area. People can post business reports, radiation readings, city council meetings, upcoming NRP meetings. Because the time to act, that window is closing.
So this is kind of like a meetup
plant
on
restarted
Facebook?
by the end of the year.
These
pages are on Facebook, yes.
I mean, is this kind of like a meetup thing where people can talk about it if they're in the neighborhood?
Yeah, and then we post any news articles that come up in the feeds about the specific plant too.
Now, how bad do you think it could get? For example, if what John is saying and the other sources saying actually starts to happen, where we have major tsunamis and sea rising on either coasts, and virtually all our reactors are sitting on bodies of water exposed to this, especially on the East Coast. Here on the West Coast, Diablo Canyon's on literally converging 3 fault lines.
Listen to that crap.
Native burial ground, which is really bad. And San Onofre sitting across the Jacinta subduction fault zone, literally on the beach. It was 4,000 tons of radioisotopes. This is not good.
It was even built there in the first place.
Yeah, I know. Well, they knew about this beforehand. They released it 13 years ago. They probably knew well before that. Why do you think they did that? What's your kind of, what I call reverse logic of why would the military and the government? I know it's an important reactor to be sitting right on Camp Pendleton, which is the largest Marine Corps base in the world. And why would they do that?
Possibly for shipping any of the plutonium that's generated from the reactors to make weapons to the various labs in the area or on that side of the country. I mean, I don't know that they're still collecting plutonium, but each reactor generates about 500 pounds of plutonium a year. If we, use in our artillery when we go and fight democracy.
Now, one of the things people don't understand about, and this is one of my other sources, I have actual first-hand contact sources that have been inside the underground city under Pendleton Marine Corps Base. What's underground is hundreds of times bigger than what's above ground. And it's not just on the coast, it's all over Pendleton. Pendleton covers hundreds of square miles. It's a giant underground city underneath Pendleton Marine Corps Base. So, weird things are happening. Again, I don't have all the answers. All I can say is, God help us. Check it out. Be prepared. We're going to discuss this more on nuclear issues on Monday. And closing comments about what's going on.
Well, I think we need to, what this news Don has given us is just devastating. And I'd stay close to home because you don't know who's going to be traveling on your highways. It may be the military.
Yeah, and Highway 5, by the way, is really close to the, and the basically the coastal highway here in California is right on the coast. Highway 15 is pretty far inland, so we would be okay, but that would be basically one artery getting out of Southern California toward Riverside County and Los Angeles, or Northern Orange County.
Right.
Good stuff. Back again next week, God willing.
Hi, this is Ted Anderson. If you'd like...
Well, that was the show. And let me stop this. Heads up. Make this go viral. Just in case. Make it go viral and be prepared. I'll see you tomorrow. Can you hold on? Can you hear what